There is a bit of sun. It will not be an incredible flight, but it's good to continue in our direction, and it's sunny there. So I think we will do a little beautiful flight.
Hello, everybody. And here we are back in the thermal. So this is the second edition of Ojovolador's thermal, 19th actually overall. And today we have got a super guest. 5 times acro world champion, both in solo and synchro, twice gold medalist at the World Air Games. He jumped off a helicopter at 6,000 meters to beat the Guinness World Record of infinity tumble with 568 consecutive tumbles. And is one of the founders of SIR projects together with Tom de Dordolot. He got sucked by a cloud in an island. He ended up landing 10 kilometers offshore and managed to come back to tell the tale. So let me say welcome back to the thermal and good evening, Horacio Llorens.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for this super nice presentation. It's a pleasure to be in the thermal, this time for the English spoken followers, which were asking to have, of course, the opportunity to understand the interviews as well. And it's super nice to be here. Thanks so much.
Yes, Horacio, thank you a lot. You were actually about a month and a half ago in the first chapter for La Térmica in Spanish. You were the first guest. Thank you for joining us then. The thing has become actually a bit of a success. We have got a lot of followers, and you are right. There is a lot of people that kind of felt left out and they wanted an English version. So thank you very much for coming back for this. And
yeah, it is incredible just to see that. I was in the first La Térmica 1 month and a half ago. You said very well, and in that moment when we did this interview together with Daniel Crespo, we for sure didn't expect to be so long at home. Now we are one month and a half at home and start to be difficult, and I think we are seeing that it's gonna stay even much more longer, maybe one more month. So it's weird. It is super weird.
Yeah. It's. I must admit, I noticed the difference as well in the vibe with people and everything. I think we are all feeling the squeeze. We are all feeling the lockdown, and but luckily there are other things that we can do. And obviously, we as a paragliders community, we thank you for the time that guys like you give to us, and it really makes things that little bit better. So thank you again, Horacio, for spending some time with us.
My pleasure.
And Horacio, last time you talked us a lot about your adventures, but your film was just about to come out. The Higher Ground is now available on the Red Bull TV, and we had the pleasure to watch it. And today, despite all of your achievements in acrobatics and everything else, I think we'll focus in vol-biv. We'll get people dreaming about their first vol-bivs, and we focus a little bit also on your new film, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. It is a really important part of my life. Cross country and bivouac is getting more and more interesting to me, and I'm super happy to talk about it.
Cool, man. Cool. So let's go from the beginning, because you learn flying very young. Yeah, you learn flying at 14, right?
Yeah, I started with 14 years old. Well, actually, with 12 years old, I did my first tandem as a passenger, of course, with my uncle Felix Rodriguez. And once I was, we have it there. Felix Rodriguez, the founder of this family, the Rodriguez family. All his sons are paragliding pilots, and many of his cousins as well, like myself. And he taught me when I was 14 years old to fly paragliding. He had the school from 1987, I think. And actually, he runs still the school here in Albacete, and I'm sure many of his students are waiting to have the lockdown open again and to be able to continue flying. And he was my teacher. And after his course, his sons, Raúl and Felix Rodriguez, my cousins, start to teach me more in the direction of aerobatics. And it's been always the family. So important to me and so important for my sport.
And what's the special thing about the school then? Because your uncle has brought to the world, well, 3 world champions, Felix, Raúl, and yourself. What's the special recipe in the school then?
That's incredible. If you think about it, it's something really special. And what I can say is that my uncle Felix Rodriguez is not just a typical guy. Let's say he was running racing cars. He was doing scuba diving in super pro level, 5 stars. He was later a teacher of karate. For many years, he ran his own school. And after all of this and many more things, probably, he started paragliding and he got completely in love. And then he started giving this opportunity to many people and teaching his family. And for sure, the way he approached the sport is a way that make you dream about it. And it was really important how he teaches Raúl, how he teaches Felix, how he teaches myself and Alex Rodriguez and many more. And that's something we really appreciated.
Cool. Then we send a big wave to Uncle Felix, and everybody knows if you need some motivation or get the right attitude towards flying, maybe you can take a stop at Felix School in Albacete. And so going back to your trip to the higher ground in this movie, was this your first time in Bir in India?
Yeah, I heard about Bir many times in my life, but I never got the opportunity or the time or the proper project to go. And finally, we decided to move on. And this was for sure my first time and really incredible place. I will be back probably soon. Yeah.
If you don't mind, Horacio, we'll try to break down your trip then, because a lot of people have contacted us and they've been very interested in knowing and getting some tips about, well, how to get really into their first vol bibs. And Bir seems to be a very popular destination for Europeans, especially in autumn. So what time of the year were you there?
We were there. We arrived, if I'm not wrong, the 1st of October or the 2nd of October. This is October, November is a very good period to go. First of all, because the season is over here in Europe. There is no more thermals or not enough thermals to have fun, and it's a good moment to move. And a good place to go for sure is India, because this period of the year in India is really productive for cross country, really nice. And we stayed there for 1 month together with Tom de Dordolot, my partner in crime, in many of the trips and adventures I've been doing the last 10 years, and super cool and good friend. And with the search projects team, which is Benoit Defos, cameraman, and Bo, second cameraman, and John Staples, photographer, which are really important, because otherwise we couldn't tell this story to you guys, to the public, in the same way. So it's good to have the complete view of the whole team, and this is the search projects team.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing it up. Really, that's a good point. And actually, we contacted Tom. He at the moment he's traveling in his boat, and I think he has got very little coverage. But otherwise, he probably would have joined us today also. So you're in Bir at the end of the monsoon season, and did you guys fly for a few days in the area, in the front ridge, or to acclimatize a bit, or you went straight to the back?
No. Of course, we start to acclimatize, as you well said, in Bir, flying 3 days local, and preparing all the stuff, and putting together all the material and thinking thinking about the route and watching maps and talking with the pilots, because in Berlin there are many pilots, and we were talking with pilots who has been there for many years and know very well the area, to take tips, to take some opinions about what we were going to try. Always, of course, with our own way and objective, because sometimes people can tell you, no, this is very, very dangerous, or maybe there you're going to get 100 km per hour suddenly from 1 minute to the other without any advice. And sometimes if you hear too much, it can be also difficult, but of course it's really important to have the opinion, especially to the pilots who have proper knowledge of the place. And we were there with I remember Jorge Altramiz, a good friend of me, and he was there with his friends, and they've been flying there many years, and it was really important to us to talk with them, to fly with them, and to have a proper view of the area, because we are first time there as well. Tom was the first time Berlin, and it's really important to have open ears, and of course to prepare your material to fly with the setup you are going to fly the next days in bivouac, to set up all the adjustments of the harness and everything. And that was like a preparation for the trip. 3 days flying local and talking with the pilots.
Cool. And Horacio, we get a lot of questions actually about your gear. Can you talk us a little bit through your gear, and then I might be asking you some more specific questions that we got from the audience.
The gear for the bivouac, we were using very light stuff, trying to get as light as possible. We had a sleeping bag, really cool one from Patagonia. They support us with this very small one, but for -7 degrees, proper sleeping bag. We had the harness, of course, a very light one. In this case, I was using the Super Strike, the glider, really important, a light one as well. In this case, the Wild, which is pretty light and good. And I was using gloves, good ones from Black Diamond, Rescue Parachute, light one as well. In this case, I was using round Rescue, but I will start to use a Beamer 3 light. I already ordered it because I was not feeling comfortable in the high mountains flying with a round Rescue. And was using the backpack was pretty light as well, to put all together on the backpack, but a light one, but big enough to put everything inside. T-shirts, light T-shirts, but with good ones as well for freezing temperatures, like first layer T-shirts as well. And we were using Camelback. I was using 3 liters.
Because you didn't look to have like a lot of clothing. Maybe you had base layer, long sleeve, fleece, and down jacket, and that was it.
This, and then Gore-Tex on top of everything, a windstopper Gore-Tex, which was the last layer and very important as well. And with these clothes, you are pretty well. We were flying over 6,000 meters, and I was not feeling cold. And when we were flying low, we were opening the layers, so we were letting enter some air. And when we were going up, we were closing layers consecutively to have completely closed setup. And then it was really productive and good for the ground as well. I was sleeping sometimes with a down jacket, because we were sleeping over 4,500 meters sometimes. And even with the sleeping bag was super cold. So it's really important to have a good setup of clothes that are light and at the same time good enough for flying and good to use on the ground as well. We were using, I had, I think, 2 T-shirts and very light ones that dry very well. So after a long hike, it was easy to clean and to dry it in half an hour, so you could have a change clothes as well, underwear. And we were having the poles, the sticks, poles to walk, and these poles are working together with the sleeping bag that we were using from Black Diamond, which is super light and doesn't have like these poles that are connecting to create the sleeping bag, because it's used the sticks that you use for walking that use for the same tent as well.
So
Not in this case, in this shot is my tent, but the tent of Tom is the one that I'm describing. That is the one I bought after this trip, which is really, really good because it's very light, very small, and you use the same sticks to use for walking to create the tent. So it's a really good way.
That's Eduard Massa actually was asking specifically that question. If your tent was a vol-biv tent that you get from Black Diamond, or is this specifically for paragliding, or is just a very lightweight tent? Sounds really cool.
It is not specifically for paragliding, but it's done for VIP, and it's really good because at the end the tent is this, nothing more, and it's only one layer, but it's good under rain. It's very good under rain actually, because we had a lot of rain one night, like many hours of super strong, and Tom was feeling comfortable. And you use it with the sticks, as I told you, so the area is created with something you already have in your equipment to walk, which is perfect. And then with a very light mattress, inflatable, that it's just the area of your body on the ground, but you don't need more if you want to sleep. And it's really comfortable, and it's really tight. Everything is really tight. You try to be as light as possible, of course, because it doesn't look like, this is just 100 grams more, it's not important, but it's 100 grams more here, 50 more, 200 more there. And at the end, you have 3-4 kilos extra, and you are maybe with 25, 28 kilograms in the bag, then you're going to destroy yourself, no? So you try to be as light as possible, of course, having all the essentials, all the important things.
Yes, seems like speaking to friends as well that are into vol-biving or they like lightweight, seems like the trick is that if you're going to go light, you have to think about everything being light. Every item you should try and make it light, or at least or avoid taking it, right? So it's kind of a mindset. It's to go lightweight, right?
It's incredible. You can go even paranoid with it. You can start, cutting like the etiquetas. I don't know in English.
Yeah, the labels. The labels of your clothes.
Checking everything to be as light as possible, and thinking that light is right, that Tom said many times, light is right. And of course, you can have everything together if you think about it before the trip, and you nowadays with Amazon, it's really easy to buy anything you could need. And of course, we did a checklist before the trip, like 1 month before, and we were thinking about what I have, what I need, what do you have that you can borrow me, that you have 2 pieces and you can borrow me. And we were sharing some stuff between Tom and me, and at the end we set up a perfect equipment for the trip. But we're thinking as well on the paragliding equipment, like the Vario GPS. In this case, I was using, and Tom as well, the SideRide, which is a Vario GPS, super compact. It's small like this, and it has enough information for this kind of trips, and it is perfect. It worked out really well. It's the one that Antoine Girard was using as well in his last trips, and we know Antoine Girard, he's one of the most pro, or probably the most pro bivouac pilot in the world. And we were using headlamp, very light one from Black Diamond as well, and a Power Traveler solar panel to recharge, but we didn't use at all. What we were using was the power bank, which was at the end was big enough for 3-4 days if you were using it not too much. So we were recharging it full power, and then after 2-3 days when it was low in the valley, we were charging from electric power the power bank. And it was much easier because the solar panel was pretty big and heavy, and we thought that it was going to be easier like this, and it was good enough to, in the area we had enough places to stop and recharge from time to time. And batteries.
Do you have, Horacio, like a maximum weight that you would say my backpack should not be heavier than this? Like this is my maximum, or something in your mind, or?
I don't have a maximum, to be honest. I mean, in this case, we were having 23 kilos in the back, and I
Wow.
thought it was going to be impossible to carry that because we were at the beginning thinking about 18, 19, but we were having water and food for many days, and all together, it was pretty heavy. And even
23
thinking
kilos,
that we were
that's a
not
lot.
using oxygen system with us because there is no rechargeable points in this area. So we decided not to use oxygen bottle to fly and to create red cells during the trip, acclimatation during the trip, and to go slowly higher, flying higher, but always respecting the altitude from the beginning. Because
Hmm.
having the extra weight of oxygen bottle with us and not being able to recharge it during the trip was going to be annoying for sure. So even like that, we had 23 kilograms in the back, full covered with water and food. Of course, this was going down every day when we were eating and drinking.
Yeah.
But this was when we were full with everything.
And wow, I'm surprised. Like 23 kilos is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to hike up a mountain, I normally fly in Scotland. We hike up everywhere, and
Mm.
23 kilos is a tandem, and it's a lot. Yeah, and
Mm.
in terms of food, this is a question from Kieran Campbell, actually, that he wants to know the nitty gritty of if you are self sufficient and you go out flying, what do you plan in terms of food? What are you taking, specifically, what food you carry, and how much water, for example?
We were carrying food for 3 days. Probably we were a bit heavy because we didn't have jet boil with us. We had, but we decided not to use it because Tom had a really nice food from the Red Bull X Alps, which is already hydrated. This is the problem. It's quite heavy, the food, but in every pot, you have food for one day, and it is perfect. It's really easy to warm it up. You don't need jet boil. It's a chemical warm up. You just add a little water, and it's creating heat to heat the meal, and that was a really good, easy way, let's say, to have good food. We had really good food with this. It was really with all the components to make exercise. This food was especially think for athletes, and it was perfect during the trip because we were walking quite a lot sometimes and flying many hours, and this is exhausting a lot, especially when you fly so high, and you need, of course, to have a proper food. And this is not the typical food that you can find, and it's a little bit expensive. You can find it in internet for sure. It is a little bit expensive, but it's working super well, and you don't need to have jet boil with you, which is making things much more easy. And we were having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 packs per day.
Uh-huh.
So we were having 9 packs each of us with us, 9 packs of this food, which was pretty heavy because, as I tell you, it's already hydrated.
Yeah,
But
but at
it's
least
really
you
easy
don't,
to warm up, and it's perfect. So
and
at
you
the
don't have
end,
to find water. You don't have to find water. If you didn't have water, you don't have to find water.
you need
Yeah.
a little bit of water to warm it up,
Okay.
because you put this pot of food, you put it inside a bigger pot, a plastic one, with a bit of water and the chemical stuff, so it warms up the pot that is inside the bigger plastic pot. So
Okay.
everything together is
And
really, yeah, it's really easy to use, and you use very small quantity of water. But we were having filters with us as well, so we were normally having 3 liters with us, and of course drinking. Sometimes we were having two, sometimes one, but controlling places where we could recharge the water as well with the filters, which
wow.
are really important, of course, for bivouac, to have proper filter to use water that you find on the way, because you will not find every time a proper fountain or a place where you have water that you're sure it's safe enough to drink. So you need special filters to take any water you find in the way, and sometimes you have to take from places you
Yeah.
think maybe it's not the best one, but okay, I'm gonna believe the filter. and the filter is doing well his job, and we never had any problem, stomach problem.
Yeah, of course, that is important, right? If you have a stomach bug at 4,000 meters and you have to climb, that's a big trouble. Yeah, that is a big trouble.
Yeah.
Horacio, if you can, I don't know, do you remember the name of this food in case people want to look for it?
I will tell you later, and you can write it in the interview, because
Cool.
I don't remember now the name, the brand, but I will tell
No
you
problem.
later, so
Yeah.
you can recommend
Cool.
to the people. Yeah.
Cool, will do. And in the days when you didn't have this, and we'll go afterwards into it, but you have done other ball beeps before. Were you a kind of a guy that just takes porridge oats with you and something very simple, or?
Yeah, we were having more food, not only this, of course, we were carrying with us more food and many nuts. I think the nuts are really important because it's giving straight energy, and we were having some power bars as well, and porridge is really good for sure if you have a jet boil. I did this before in Pakistan, for example, and you try to think and something that is gonna give you a straight energy, something that you can carry and eat during the flight as well, because it's not only about landing and having a good meal, it's hydrating and eating during the flight. If you fly 5-6 hours, for sure you will need to eat during the flight, and then you have to use the nuts, the power bars, and whatever you find. Also in the valley, we were having sometimes bananas. Banana is really easy to eat in the air, and it's power straight, and it's important to have good food during the flight and after the landing.
Do you take any medicine or special vitamin tablets or anything? If you pick some medicine, is there anything that you would take with you?
We didn't took any medicine with us. We didn't took anything extra power, let's say, medicine with us.
No, I was thinking more like maybe like a pain reliever, or if you have a first aid kit or something.
This we had it for sure.
Yeah,
A first aid package that I did personally, checking in internet what I thought was the most important to have, and also first aids for a paraglider as well. Because
cool.
imagine that you take off on a difficult area. That happens many times when you are doing bivouac, and you break the glider or the lines or so on, and you cannot continue flying because of not having a line with you or not having a wrist up. So I was having like I think 2.5 meters or 3 meters of wrist up for the glider. I was having a needle and a line to and I was having a special needle for the lines para embutir. I don't know in English, para embutir,
yes, to thread the line, and because the thin lines you don't stitch them or you don't tie a knot, but you kind of thread them through it. So
exactly, and I had lines with me, of course, a small kit, but good enough to fix small things. Of course, if you destroy the glider, you probably will not have enough things, but thinking about the small breaks on the lines and on the glider, we were ready to cover it with this pack. And I think it is really important because many times you take off from very difficult areas, and it is easy to break the material sometimes in these places.
Stephen Lowe, actually from Scotland, is asking a question saying, if you use a glider of a bigger size than your normal size when you're in these trips, or if you always use the same one.
I have the feeling, I always had the feeling that I prefer to be fast and glide a bit less than to be light and glide a bit more. First of all, because as I told you, I learned with my uncle Felix Rodriguez, and I learned in Chinchilla, Albacete. Albacete is a flatland, and this flatland is super windy. It's super windy, and I'm used to fly with a lot of wind, and I'm used to be on the limit of flying backwards, And the worst scenario case for me, it's to be flying backwards in a place like like India, this place in the high mountains. It was really narrow and difficult and full of stones and rocks. And for sure, I don't want to fly backwards. So my setup was to be on top of the glider. I was on the limit on top, not overpassing. But even if you overpass a little bit, I think it shouldn't be a problem. If you are going to fly, especially in an area which is windy. And in this case, we knew it was going to be very windy in the high mountains, not in Virbilin, but in the high mountains in Spiti Valley. And it was really windy. And I'm really happy I was on top because I was feeling much more comfortable for the takeoff, but especially for the landings and during the flight as well.
Yeah. And now we go more into the flying, Horacio. But yes, definitely, it looked like you guys had a very tough time with wind on this trip. So you see the window. You have done your practice days in beer billing. You see the window of opportunity, and then okay, we go to take off, and your first leg is flying to Manali. And did you go straight over the back, or did you go south for some time, kind of getting closer to the road that goes to Manali? And kind of did you do like a dog leg, or did you went straight back in the boonies, let's say, because behind Beer there's not much, nothing else up to Manali, right?
What do you think? What do you think we did?
I think you went straight over the back. I don't know. But,
we took the difficult decision, and we thought a lot about doing the turnaround, and we checked the maps a lot. To be honest, it wasn't just okay, let's go straight line. No, we thought about it, but we decided to go a straight line first of all because we were going to go to a much more isolated areas and wild areas than what we had behind Beer. So after 3 days flying around Beer and having the view of the area, we thought it was safe enough to go a straight line. But the problem is during the way we found a very big cloud that was getting dark and getting big, and it was giving shadow to the valley on the straight line. And in this moment, we could still have the decision to do the turnaround. I was pulling to go through the turnaround because I want to go with the sun and fly all the way to Manali. And Tom was pushing to go a straight line and to go below the shadow, but thinking that we could land and walk up through the other side and take off through the other side in case. And we couldn't really speak very well in that moment. And Tom has a very good level on cross country and bivouac as well, as he's doing the X-Alp since many years, and we follow his idea. And of course, in the shadow, we couldn't continue thermaling, and we had to land at, I think, at 2,000 meters, something like that, in a slope. Pretty high, but still the mountain was much higher, and we had to walk during 2 hours and a half, something like that, together, up to, if I don't remember, but up to 4,000 meters. We went up. Oof. Yeah, straight the first day. That was the start. So we arrived pretty late at the top, and of course we prepared because we didn't want to sleep there. It was really cold and it was too high, and we wanted to sleep a bit lower. And in the direction to Manali, we took off through the other side of this big mountain. It was a collado there, and we took off through the other side, and we had the Manali Valley in the other side. And it was perfect because we have a super nice glide with no conditions, it's still in the shadow, but super nice glide to arrive to a mountain that we already saw on the map that had a perfect landing on the top at 3,000 meters, green with trees, perfect place to sleep. And we already saw it in the map, and we knew it was going to be good, and it was super good. So at the end, the decision of Tom was good. Maybe we could do it flying around with sun and thermals, but at the end, it was a proper way to start creating red cells and acclimatizing, the body. And because when you carry the material in your back and you walk and you are very high, you are creating a lot of red cells, and it's really good for acclimatization. People think sometimes that just flying high, it's enough. I'm flying at 5,000 meters every day. And this is not really acclimatizing yourself. What is really creating results is doing exercise at some certain altitude, over 3,000 meters. So this was a perfect beginning for us, and the landing on the other side, the landing on the mountain at 3,000 meters, it was perfect. It was super nice.
Yeah. So that's the first night that you have on the video. So on the first night, it seems like you land there, but actually you had a landing before that in a big hike as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, super big hike. Yeah.
The ridge in Manali, in Bir, sorry, is high, but it's nothing like the mountains behind it. So if you got a big cloud on top and the big mountains, you don't have a lot of room to play. So you had to walk there. Okay. And
but the cloud base was enough. We could make it. We could pass the Collado. We had the view that we could pass flying. That's why we went. But of course, in the shadow, it was not working. We knew it, and Tom knew it as well. But at the end, it paid off the effort to walk up to the top, because in the other side it was really nice to continue in our line. And we wanted to do exercise as well, and it was a good decision, I think.
And Horacio, how does it work? Because behind Bir, at the front is grassland and kind of very open, but behind it, the mountains start getting big, but still there is a lot of vegetation, a lot of almost like jungle trees, and then higher up, you lose the tree line. It's a bit cleaner. But when you are in that situation, what's the mindset? What's the plan with you and between you and Tom? Do you kind of say, well, if we start getting low, we're gonna land instead of just going all the way down, and we're gonna land above the tree line, or do you just go all the way until you find something?
First of all, it was really important these 3 days to recon the area. We were flying cross country all around in many directions and always coming back to Bir. One day we didn't reach Bir, but we were almost there. But we were flying all the directions to feel the area, the thermals, how it works, the place, local, and also to check where there is some villages behind, because there is still some kind of small, very, very, very small villages in some places, and checking a lot the maps and thinking about different options for the first day. Okay, if we reach here, we have a landing here, and we have a possible top land here. But if we make it to the other valley, here we have a landing here and there, and here we have another possible top landing for sleeping on the top. So we were having like many possibilities, and we studied the possibilities together. Of course, this part of Birbeling is much easier in terms of conditions, because it's still green and the thermals are really, really, really nice. I think the conditions there are amazing to do bivouac. You don't need to go behind to the high mountains behind, because this rocky area in Spiti Valley is much more aggressive and complicated to fly. But Birbeling, it has many layers, many lines behind already, which are super interesting for bivouacking. And you can go to many directions, and you can do many kilometers in a really safe way, and having landing possibilities, and having life around, and having green areas and water to recharge when you need it, because in the rocky areas in the Spiti Valley was much more complicated to find water. So I think the possibilities in Birbeling and around are amazing for bivouacking, and I would like to come back to explore a bit more this part, because we went straight to the high mountains, to the Rotten Pass. And it was amazing. That was our project and our idea, but I would like to meet more the pre-Himalaya, which is much more comfortable to fly, and I think it is a really nice place to go.
Yes, we crossed paths there once with John Sylvester, and he's done a lot of flying in that area. And yes, he had a lot of spots where he might go and takes a night or stops for some time on. But it seems like a really good spot. And would you say then that for maybe some, not their first bivouac perhaps, but somebody that is starting, would you say that the flight from Bir to Manali, it's a good place to test yourself before heading into high ground?
I think so. I think it is a good way to test yourself for sure. If you have a medium level, if you know well how to fly, how to take thermals, and if you
How
prepare
to move in
yourself
mountains.
well with enough equipment, because you may not be able to do it in 1 day or in 2 days or in 3 days, who knows. So you need
Yeah.
to have enough supplies for sure. And I think the best is if you do it with a friend, of course, not alone. Of course, if you have a very good level, you can go alone. Many pilots do it, but to start is much better with a friend or even more people. There is, like I told you, Jorge Altramiz, my friend. They were bivouacking around with, I think, 3 or 4 guys together and talking by the radio. You can have a lot of fun flying not too far and discovering, because when you bivouac, you are more about the adventure, uh, about meeting a place, an area, and discovering the area very precisely and very well, and enjoying the trip. Not about covering a lot of distance. You are not crazy about doing 200, 300 Ks. You are more about to enjoy the area, discover that peak. Now I like this one. Okay, let's go there. Or do you think we can land there? Yes, let's try. It's incredible, the possibilities. Yeah.
And Horacio, that's well. Now we are heading towards Manali. We are about to go into the more interesting or the heavier part of the harder part of the trip. But you said something about it's nice to go with a partner.
Yeah.
How do you pick a partner for something like this? I mean, who would you go with when you have to choose? And you got a lot of cool guys around you, but when you have to choose a partner for an adventure like this, what do you
Yeah.
look out for?
Right now, I see a message of Tom de Dordolot, my friend. He's saying, "Máquina, somos pájaros." Yes, my friend, somos pájaros.
Well done,
Yeah.
Tom.
First of all, you choose a person that you can rely a lot, person that you trust a lot, that you trust. First of all, as a friend, as a pilot, as a person, a guy that you can spend time together and have fun. It's really important. But a pilot who has your level or even better level than you, because you will learn more from him if he has better level than you. This is something I've been learning a lot from Tom, because he is more pro XC pilot, and bivouac is his life. He's been doing, as I tell you, Excel, but he crossed the completely island of New Zealand, and he has a lot of knowledge, and I've been learning a lot. So you need to do it with a good friend, of course, and a pilot who has the level to be there, and that is gonna push you forwards the team, because you don't want to be with someone else who is really scared and is going to push back a lot and is gonna be trying to land at the minimum opportunity because it's not comfortable. This is not good as well. You need to find someone who has same level than you. It doesn't matter if you have a low level or medium level, but same level. It is the most important. So you are not gonna slow down the other one, or the other one is not gonna slow down you. So you will enjoy the trip together, and this is really important. And someone that you have fun too as well, because you will spend few days and maybe weeks together, and it should be someone that you like as a person as well, that you're gonna have fun and enjoy the landing time, and have a good dinner and talk, and something who is interesting. So I think it is important to be a friend, to be someone else that you know very well, and together.
That's thank you, Horacio. And I would like to add something to that, that you might have it as well. I have seen it in occasions. It's really important to have somebody back at home as well that is reliable. And especially when things go wrong. When things go wrong, you need somebody that will start actually moving things back in the landing or back at home to get you out of trouble, right? And I don't know, do you have something like that? Perhaps now that you have made it big and you have got a support crew, great. But in the early days, how did you manage that support during these trips? Was there somebody at home that was checking your spot device? Was there somebody at home that knew your insurance number and things like that in case you needed rescue?
We always fly. Before we were using the Spot, but now we use the Garmin InReach. We always fly with a security system. The InReach that we use nowadays is incredible because you can send SMS anywhere in the world by satellite signal. So you can be in contact with anyone in the world at any time, even if you are hidden in the most difficult place where you could be. First of all, to have connection with the outside, and then you have, of course, the SOS button and the help buttons in case you have an accident or something. But we normally don't have someone who is really covering the whole distance with us from his home, but we are in touch sometimes with the crew when we have the crew with us, or when we bivouac alone, like we did in Colombia, that we did a really nice bivouac as well together with them. We were just having this spot signal that in case you have trouble, you have rescue. And it is important to have it because you never know what is going to happen. Even if you are a super pro pilot, we are humans, we make mistakes, and sometimes even if you are not doing a mistake, the weather can change and the things can get really nasty out there. And you should be ready to push SOS button if you need it. And it's important to have these kind of systems. We didn't say it on the list before when we start the interview, but it's really important, and I truly recommend to have it. This is gonna give people from its outside is gonna follow your trip, is gonna see what is happening, and you can have, as I tell you, communication, and it is super important.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Horacio. And yes, just from my own side, is I have seen it work really well to have somebody back at home that knows what you're doing, that knows your insurance details, and that is clued up in case things do go wrong. I have seen it a couple of times that people back at home make a difference, either contacting an embassy or trying to contact people on site to try and get you out of trouble. And
anyway, in this InReach, there is contact people, which is already knows what you are doing. So these contact people is people you trust really, and that you think they are gonna do the proper work if you have any trouble. No, that they know your project, and they are following you also as well. So these people is gonna work out the problem well if you need it.
So reliability, people that will be serious and is you can count on at this time in these trips, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. So you make it to Manali, and with Tom has a small accident there. He gets hurt, then he comes back, and it's a time to actually cross into the bigger mountains and go over the Rotan Pass. Yeah. So how high were you over the Rotan Pass to clear that col, the El Collado?
The Rotan Pass, we were 5,000 meters high. As you say, Tom had a small accident. I was playing very fast because people saw it on the video, and we were flying from this top of mountain from 3,000 meters where we slept last night, and then we took off. And we started having a great day, but the small thermals and covering a bit of distance. But when we were arriving to Manali, there was some rain on the end of the valley. We saw it, but the wind was still okay, and we were almost reaching Manali. And in the moment we arrived, 50 km per hour of wind came, super strong and narrow valley, and we start flying backwards with trees everywhere and no possible landings. And we really were struggling in these conditions, and it was really fast. Everything happened really fast. We went to the landing, but no landing at all. And I found a small place between trees. Very luckily, I could reach it, but Tom was a bit behind in that moment and couldn't reach the place, and he had a small crash with a tree. And he cracked a bit his shoulder, didn't broke anything, but he was resting for 3 days. And in Manali, he did X-ray and he was okay, but he had to rest to have strong arm because the trip was starting and we had a lot of flying in front. And of course, he needed to be 100% before to continue. So I was flying local there 3 days with Debu, which is an Indian pilot, a really good pilot who is acro pilot. He's been doing acro with me many years, and who is cross country pilot, very good pilot, and doing tandems now there.
Debu.
And Debu. And
Yeah.
he was showing us the area of Manali and what we could find behind Rotten Pass. He was really important on the trip as well. He gave us a lot of information, and he flew with me these 3 days together, and then he flew with us the day we try the Rotten Pass.
And by the way, somebody there earlier on was asking if there is any guiding or any guiding services in Beer, Manali, and for vol-biv in that area. Debu Chaudhry is one of them. I think Debu does guiding in that area. Debu spent some time in Europe. I think he does tandems in Switzerland or something, but he's a super good pilot, does competitions as well. And he's a guide in that area. There is also Himalayan Sky Safaris by John Sylvester that they do really good vol-bivouac guiding over there. But Debu, you remind me, somebody was asking earlier that Horacio's friend can help you out for sure if you're looking for a guide in that area. Sorry.
Continuing this day, as you asked me before, what was the altitude when we crossed the Rotten Pass? So after Tom recovered his shoulder, he was still feeling a bit of pain, but he felt good enough to start flying. And that day, we took off together, me, Tom, and Debu, and it was really light. It was super light, super difficult to get the first 1,000 meters. It was super complicated. We were fighting together for 1 hour, trying to find a thermal, and it was really difficult. But
where did you take off from? Was from the takeoff kind of going up that road and towards the Rotten Pass, or where did you take off from?
In the other side. In the other side.
Yeah.
The east face, which is for the morning. So we were starting earlier, but even if it was sunny, it was not working, and we were struggling a lot. And then we crossed to the other side of the valley, and it was a little bit better there. And then we start thermaling a bit better. And when we reach 5,000 meters, we say, okay, now we should go. No, and we were getting closer every time to our direction was Rotten Pass, and when we reached 5,000 meters, we were exactly on the point where, okay, now we go. No? And Tom and me, we were very close at that moment, and by radio we say, go, yes, vamos. And then we start crossing, and the bull was a bit lower in that moment, not too much, but a bit, and he decided to move outside and back to the valley of Manali. It was a safe decision, I think, because we were pretty low to pass the pass, but we decided to go, and he decided to come back, and it was a really reasonable decision. And in that moment, we saw the other valley in the other side, and we discovered a completely different landscape. Manali is green, it's beautiful. You feel like in the Alps. It's incredible. Manali, I love it. This valley is incredible. And you have high mountains and snow, but below you have green areas, and it's super nice. And in the other side of the Rotten Pass, it was completely rocky.
Himalaya.
It changed a lot, no? We discovered that we were 5,000 meters high, and when we reached the view of the other side, the valley in the other side was super high, was more than 3,000 meters high, you know? So suddenly we were super high over Manali, but here we were not that high with 5,000 meters.
You were probably 2,000 meters over, only 2,000 over the valley.
Losing. And when we arrived to the valley in the other side, and we arrived the sunny face, we were not so high over the valley there, and it was super windy. And then we started suffering. It was the beginning of the suffering size, because there we were flying backwards sometimes and having collapses and climbing backwards and then fighting not to land on the valley. And it was really for 1 hour and a half nasty. It's really nasty.
And one thing is to be in windy conditions, well, about everywhere else or anywhere else, but a very different thing is to have strong wind there, because it's just the place is so big, right? Everything, the scale of it is so huge that getting scared is also a lot more. I think it frightens you a lot more, just the scale of the place, and realizing that the wind there going up 20 kilometers an hour more or less is just like that. It's not something, and if you have to go down, it takes a long time. I was listening to Tom saying that he was at points feeling like touching the brakes and just flying backwards and upwards towards this rocky face. And you had something similar with Pitocco, right? And that didn't end up too well in other trips. Wow, scary stuff.
Yeah, it was, for Tom was a bit more complicated because I could arrive a bit higher, and it was a bit easier to me to get the top of the ridge, but he was fighting a bit lower, and he was fighting there, and the wind was increasing, and he never gave up. It was incredible because he never gave up. He was fighting a lot. He was not saying, okay, it's not possible, I'm going to find a place to land. No, he was fighting, flying backwards, climbing, talking by radio from time to time. And then he came up again together with me. We were super high there, above 5,000 meters again, but already late, and we were wasted because we suffered quite a lot. And we decided to go to the lee side, on the place behind. We thought it was going to be covered from the wind, and we took the right decision. When we arrived to Keelung, it was well covered from the wind, and it was low enough, but not in the canyon, not in the bottom of the valley. It was in some slopes we found with the proper landing, and some houses there. But just when I was about to cross, I had probably the most turbulence experience in cross country in my life, and I had quite a lot in my life in some places, but never so nasty like there. I was like for 5-6 minutes just holding the glider, but not holding here, holding down. The glider was really like trying to collapse, and
like a big whirlpool, like a big,
yeah,
big rotor. Yeah,
it was incredible. I never felt that before. It was really incredibly nasty, and I was sometimes climbing in this nasty. I don't understand how, but sometimes I was kind of trying to thermal something there, and then I escape somehow. And when I escape, Tom told me that he was reaching Keelung, and I said, okay, now is the time. We should go there. It's going to be better. And it was a proper decision, and it was the target of the day to arrive to the Keelung. We could continue still, but in these conditions, it was not really pleasant to continue. It was late, so we decided to land on Keelung, and it was beautiful. It was incredible. The landing,
yeah.
the landing was the best because we released all the stress, and it was wow.
You can see that in the video. You were both pretty happy, and also it's beautiful, Keelung. You go from Manali, as you said, you cross into this lunar landscape of the valley on the other side of the Rotan Pass. Then you go along the valley, and Keelung is kind of in a junction of valleys, but it's just standing there on its own. It's like almost like Castelluccio, but in a bigger scale. It's beautiful, and yeah, you could feel that in the video. I really enjoyed it. It was 20 minutes of enjoyment, especially now during the lockdown. And Horacio, I feel like the time just flew by, and I got the guys back in the office sending me messages saying, well, we need to wrap up, but it has gone so easy. Maybe we can get Tom to do the rest of the flight from Keelung to where it was finished.
To Spiti Valley. That could be amazing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Let's try and do that. And I really enjoyed it. And I want to cover a couple more things before we go. One is, in terms of vol-bivouac, Beer to Manali, for those that are listening, yes, it's accessible once you have tried yourself, once you know how to move in the mountains, if you're a keen hiker, if you fly well, it's accessible. Manali to Keelong, going into the Spiti Valley, it's a different kettle of fish. And well, you know when you're ready to go into that, but don't do it lightly. But perhaps, would you recommend somewhere else in the world that is not the Alps, that is not the Himalayas, to have a good, fun, accessible vol-bivouac experience?
I think it is really, really nice to start Colombia, Valle del Cauca. This place is unbelievable. The conditions are well known all around the world because it's pleasant conditions. Normally, it's not too windy. It's quite pleasant to fly there. The thermals are working super well from very low, and especially you have many places to top land. With grass fields, with cows at 2,000 meters, with a small village where you can sleep very easily and very cheap in a hostel. And you have these small villages everywhere in this valley on top of the mountains, which is perfect for bivouacking. And we did it in 2016. It's warm. It's super pleasant to fly for the pilot. And the people is so welcoming. It is a cheap country, and as well it's really rich in people, because the people has a big heart, and I love Colombian dudes. And as we did the flight from Cali to Medellin, 415 Ks, I think, in 6 days with Tom, and for me it was one of the most beautiful flights of my life, and bivouacking there was a first life experience to me. Together with Tom, I start to learn about bivouacking, and there I start to learn how lovely can be this sport, this part of the paragliding, and I totally recommend it for sure.
Cool. And on request from the people that is asking questions, 2 very small summaries. Your flight from the volcano. We saw you cover in dust, but you did fly a volcano, right? Did you manage to get there flying to the top most of the way? How was it?
You mean the volcano in Tanzania in 2012 when we flew in Africa, or the active volcano in Guatemala last year? Because as well,
you pick one. I'm getting a lot of volcano questions here, but it's not specific as to which one it was. The one that I saw was the one that you stayed on your own on top of the volcano.
No, look, this is the video. Yeah, this is the volcano. It's Volcán de Fuego, where I flew. It's a super nice volcano in Guatemala. Guatemala is a lovely country as well, for sure, to visit and to fly. I have good friends there, and this volcano was because it was too big, and I was scared. At the end, I was scared, but it was one of the most beautiful flights of my life.
I had missed that one, actually. I had that's very impressive, Horacio. Anyway, the time has flown by, and if anybody wants to know more about the things that Horacio has done, please visit www.horaciolorens.com. It's the second time that you are with us, Horacio. I cannot thank you enough. Hopefully, we'll continue with Tom the second part of the trip. And please go to Red Bull TV and watch the film by Horacio, which is Higher Ground. Super recommendable, and you will get to see what we've been talking about. Higher Ground in Red Bull TV. Horacio, muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much, Pana.
Thank you very much, Paolo. It's been a pleasure just to talk to you and to the audience who was sending so much questions. For sure, Tom de Dordolot will answer some more questions about this trip, because he has a lot of knowledge about bivouacking, and his point of view is going to be amazing for the followers. So the second part of the trip will be from Tom, and just remember that we are a big team, and we have Benoit, Jonas Staples, and Ambo Search Projects team. I love you guys.
Yes, and we'll make sure of create them properly. And it's our bad. It's our bad just to be so single-minded on the flying part. But you are completely right. This is a team effort, and you guys are just one part of that team. So yes, apologize for not giving credit properly to the guys that actually make this happen. At the end of the day, they are the ones that bring us the images. So awesome. Horacio, thank you very, very much. And we will see you soon, I hope. Good luck with your lockdown and
Thank you.
buena vida. Yeah.
Buena vida. Muchas gracias, Pablo.
Ciao. Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao, Horacio. Ciao. What can I say? I'm a lucky guy. I get to speak to all these people. Super interesting, very inspiring. I just want to go out and get some flying done. I don't know how long I'm gonna manage to stick to my guns and not going out. It's getting difficult after a month. But thank you very much for all of you to follow us and to be here. I hope you're enjoying it. There's a lot out there nowadays during the lockdown. And if you're not learning during the lockdown, it's because you don't want to. So we'll see you in the next chapter of the Thermal. And bye-bye for now.